Hello students. Now, in the last session of satellite communication and networking, we have discussed about polar mount antenna and limits of visibility, right? And we are continuing with this chapter unit 3, that is the geostationary orbit. Now, in this today's lecture, we are going to discuss about near geostationary orbit, Earth eclipse of a satellite and sun transit outage. Now, topics to be covered in the following session are near geostationary orbits, Earth eclipse of a satellite, sun transit outage, and the launching orbits. First, going with the topic that near geostationary orbit. The first of all, what are the near geostationary orbits? So now, as we have discussed in the starting session of Unit 3, that the geostationary orbits are the orbits with which respect to Earth, it states to be a stationary, right? That means the rotational speed of Earth and rotational speed of satellite that are both will be same, right? But it is not possible that all the satellites to be launched in geostationary orbit, right? So what we do is we choose a near geostationary orbit for the satellite to be launched. So there are number of perturbing forces that causes an orbit to depart from ideal Keplerian orbit. That means there are various forces which we have discussed in unit 2, that is in orbital perturbation session, that there are various orbital perturbation forces due to which it does not follow the ideal Keplerian orbit, that is their elliptical orbit, right? So there most effective ones are gravitational force of sun and moon, non-spherical of earth, reaction of satellite itself or motor movements within the satellite, right? So these all we have discussed in our orbital perturbation sessions, right? In one by one. Clear? So these are the various forces, perturbing forces due to which it having a perturbing force due to which it will not follow the Keplerian orbit. So, thus the Earth station keeps maneuvering the satellites to maintain its position. That means it will always keep moving or keep observing that particular satellite, that it will particularly be in that orbit only with a set of nominal geostationary coordinates. So the coordinates with respect to coordinates, it will always observe the from the Earth station there is a satellite at this time or particular at that particular time it is in motion or in not. Thus, the exact geostationary satellite is not attainable in practice and the orbital parameters vary with time. Hence, these satellites are called as geosynchronous satellites, or we can say as geostationary, near geostationary satellites, right? So all the satellites are not practically possible, right, to be launched in geostationary orbit. So what we do is we just launched in geosynchronous satellite or geostationary satellite, right, which have the same parameters like geostationary orbit, only that the parameters will change with time. Clear? Now, moving on to next topic, that is the Earth eclipse of satellite. Now, first of all, what is the eclipse period? So, as we have discussed, as we know that there are two types of eclipse based on the motion of the Earth, that is solar and lunar eclipse, right? Similarly, when we talk about the satellite, that the term we called as a Earth eclipse. That means there will be a two positions of a satellite where the satellite is moving around the Earth, so the satellite will come behind the Earth, so the sun rays are not able to possible to a satellite. And second position, which is in which the satellite will comes between the Earth and the sun, right? So due to these two positions of a satellite, there will occur a two events. First, which is called as Earth eclipse of satellite, and second, that is called as sun transit outage, right? Now, first we will discuss that is Earth eclipse of a satellite. So it occurs when the Earth's equatorial plane coincides with the plane of Earth's orbit around the sun near the time of spring and the autumnal equinox. When the sun is crossing the equator, the satellite will passes into the sun shadow. This happens for the some duration of time every day, right? So every day we know that the Earth is moving Earth is taking 23 hours 56 minutes and 4 seconds for reaching the for more whole rotational period. So every day there will be a particular one time where the satellite will behind the Earth, and there will be a no sun shadow on the satellite. Right now, these eclipse begins 23 days before the equinox and end 23 days after the equinox. They last for 10 minutes at the beginning. So at the beginning the eclipse period is 10 minutes, and the maximum period of equinox for the full eclipse, that is at a 72 minutes. The solar cells of the satellite becomes non-functional during the eclipse period, and the satellite is made to operate with the help of power supplied from the batteries. So during this Earth eclipse, what has happened? That is, the satellite will be behind the Earth, so no sun rays will follow on the satellite, so no solar panels or solar cells will work, right? And due to this, the satellite becomes the non-functional, right? And the satellite will operate some of its component with the help of batteries. Clear? Now, as shown in this figure, as you can see here, it is a Earth station, or you can say the center of Earth, and here it is a geostationary orbit in which the satellite is moving, right? Whenever it comes over the behind this region, here the sun rays are coming. So whenever this satellite will come on this position, this will be the eclipse region, due to which the sun rays will not fall on the satellite, and they have to use their batteries for the satellite operations. Right now, as we have discussed, there will be a two equinox. So based on the satellite position and the sun rays coming on that, there will be a two positions, right? First, that is, the satellite will be the west of Earth station. This is the Earth station, so its west part, that will be a satellite, and second, it will be a east of Earth station. And when the sun falls during two periods, that is during the daylight hours or during the early morning hours, there will be a satellite position, right? So in this figure it has been shown here, which will be discussed now in the next slide. Now the satellite will have a eclipse duration symmetric around the time that is given by satellite longitude divided by 15 plus 12 hours. Clear? So a satellite will have a Greenwich. Whenever there will be a Greenwich line which pass from the equator, so at that time the longitude will be 0, right? So substitute this longitude 0 in this value, satellite longitude. So we'll be having the 12 hours. So 12 hours, that is considered as a 00, which is called as universal time clock, right? So depend on this UTC, all other time zones of different countries are divided. The eclipse will happen at night, but before satellite in the east, it will happen late evening local time. So whenever the satellite will be in the east of Earth station, the eclipse will happen at the night, or you can say as the late evening time. Whereas for satellite in the west, eclipse will happen in the early morning hours of the local time. Clear? So these are the various consecutions, right? Consecutions where where the eclipse period will have either at the night time or late evening time or at the early morning hours. An Earth-caused eclipse will normally not happen during peak viewing hours if the satellite is located near the longitude of the coverage area, right? So Earth-causes eclipse will normally not happen. It will not happen at what time? When peak viewing hours, so at the daytime, right? If the satellite is located at the longitude, that is the nothing but the at the equator side. And modern satellites are well equipped with the batteries for operation during eclipse. So in the satellites already power batteries are applied, so when during the eclipse period the satellite will operate from its batteries. Now, next, that is sun transit outage. Now, when does this sun transit outage happens? So here in the last topic we have discussed in with the position of satellite, that is the behind the earth. Right now, if the position of satellite that comes between the sun and the earth, right, due to this the sun transit outage event occurs. Now, what is exactly sun transit outage? We will discuss right now. So, the sun transit outage is an interruption of distortion of geostationary satellite signals caused by the interference from the solar radiations. So whenever the satellite will comes between the sun and the earth, what happens? The sun will work as a noisy source, right? So during that particular time period, it will blank out the whole signals from the satellite. So particular for that period of time, you cannot communicate with the earth station. So sun appears to be an extremely noisy source which completely blanks out the satellite signals from the satellite. This effect lasts for 6 days around the equinox. They occur for the maximum period of 10 minutes. Generally, sun outage occurs in February, March, September and October. That is around the time of equinoxes, where the night is very long and the day is very long. At this times, the apparent path of the sun across the sky takes directly behind the line of sight between the earth station and the satellite. That means the satellite comes between the earth station and the sun, right? The line crossing between the earth station and the sun. As the sun radiates strongly at the microwave frequency used to communicate with satellites, the sun swamps the signal from the satellite, and it blank out the signals from the satellite. This effect of outage can include partial degradation, that is an increase in error rate, or total destruction of signal. Now, as you can see in this figure, now see this is in the between, that is sun. Here in this equatorial region, the earth is moving around, and in orbit of earth there is a satellite moving around. So when the satellite is come between the sun and the earth, that is we call a satellite in transit. And when the satellite comes behind the earth, where we call as a satellite in eclipse, right? Whereas in this it is a clear view of sun, so there will be no eclipse or no transit. Clear? Done? Now, next, that is launching orbits. So, low Earth orbiting satellites are directly injected into the orbits. This cannot be done in Greece of geostationary, as they have to 36,000 km above the Earth's surface. Now, whenever the launching happens from the launch vehicle, what does it do? So, first of all, the satellite through which the launching occurs in the low Earth orbiting satellite. Right now, when the low Earth orbiting satellite will be directly injected, but whenever there will be a geostationary satellite, what it will be do? It will be having a particular orbit, right, which is not a geostationary orbit, in which it is lie between 10,000 to 15,000 kilometers. Due to this, it works for up to 2 months, right? It is functional properly or not, it is seen up to 2 months, and after that, due to for the motors, with the help of motors, what we do is we inject it to a geostationary satellite. So launch vehicles can hence use to set this satellite in this orbit. These vehicles are reusable. That is, we have our two vehicles, that is GSLV and PSLV. For geostationary, that is GSLV, geostationary launch vehicle, and for polar satellites, that will be a PSLV, that is polar satellite launch vehicle. And both these launch vehicle comes back to Earth's surface after launching, and it can be reusable also. They are also known as Space Transportation System, that is STS. When the orbital altitude is greater than 1200 km, it becomes expensive to directly inject the satellite in its orbit. For this purpose, a satellite must be placed in a transfer orbit between the lower orbit and the destination orbit, and that transfer orbit is called as moment transfer orbit. The transfer orbit is selected to minimize the energy required for the transfer. This orbit performs a tangent to a low altitude orbit at the point of its perigee, and the tangent to high altitude orbit at the points of its apogee. If the distance is large, then the tangent will be at the apogee point. If the distance is low, then it will be a perigee point. Now, as you can see here, it is a Hohmann orbit. So it is a Earth. This is the low Earth orbit, and after low Earth orbit, this is in an eclipse, that is a Hohmann orbit, in which the satellite moves around the 2 months. And we observe from the the Earth station, that it is functioning properly or not. If it is functioning properly through the motors, what we do is we inject the motors and we transfer this satellite to the high Earth orbit, that is our geostationary orbit. The rocket injects the satellite with the required thrust into the transfer orbit. With the STS, the satellite carries a perigee kick motor. If it is at a perigee point, then it will use the perigee kick motor to inject the satellite into the transfer point. And if it is at an apogee point, then apogee kick motor, that is AKM, is used to inject the satellite in its destination orbit. So for the lower Earth, lower orbit to be transferred, it is used for as a perigee kick motor, and after that whenever it is transferred to higher orbit, then at that time what it is used, that is it is used as a apogee kick motor. Now in this figure you can see first it is transferred in a low earth orbit, that is moving at a 1. Now through the tangent it is moving at a 2, which will have a perigee point, and after reaching the perigee point through this particular another tangent will have a third final orbit, which is called as through apogee kick motor, that is the final orbit, which is 3. Generally, it takes 1 or 2 months for the satellite to become fully functional. The Earth station performs the telemetry, tracking and command function to control the satellite transits and its functionalities, right? So during that 1 to 2 months in which it is in another orbit, a moment transfer orbit, the satellite will, the Earth station will observe through the with the help of TTC command. Okay? It is better to launch rocket closer to the equator because the earth rotates at a greater speed here than at the either pole. This extra speed of the equator means the rocket needs less thrust and therefore less fuel to launch into the orbit. So generally all the satellites are launching from the closer point to the equator. In addition, the launching at the equator provides an additional 1036 meter per hour or 1667 kilometer per hour of speed once the vehicle reaches its orbit. This speed bonus means the vehicle needs less fuel and the freed space can be used to carry one more payload. So, here we have completed our unit 3, and in the next session we are going to start with unit 6, which is the space segment, right? So that's all for today's session. Thank you.